Welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the Deck. I am Beata Rouleau, founder, CEO of Compass, where we help teams fix bottlenecks that are holding back their revenue growth through proven operating systems and AI automations. If you are a business leader and you're looking to scale without the chaos, of course, you can always book a complimentary growth consultation with me at heycompass.co. The link will be in the description. Today, I am super excited to be joined by Rory. He is the CEO of Brave New Coin. They are a longstanding authority in crypto media, where they produce high quality content that helps demystify and educate crypto curious audiences. Crypto is something in my brain that I want to learn more about. It hasn't clicked yet. And so, Rory, I am super excited to have you on to just learn more about Brave New Coin and this crazy world of crypto. So welcome to the show.
Thanks, Beata. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. Let's just start with a little bit of background on you. So share about anything we should know about your background, and then what does your role look like today at Brave New Coin?
Yeah, so over a long corporate career and now in the last 10 years in crypto, I think at heart, I'm an editor without actually ever having been a formal editor as such. I've always worked in some form of content, publishing, data, and now media. It just happens to be currently in the crypto and blockchain space. Previously, I worked in the more traditional financial services sector for a data and information company. And before that, I worked in legal publishing and information for a global publisher in the professional space. So really at heart, I'm an editor. I like content, but I'm also interested in how things work. And I guess that's been part of the appeal of working in crypto and getting deeper and deeper in that is understanding how it works on my level. I mean, I don't need to be a full technical expert on it, but understanding the practical implications. And I suppose in that whole journey in my career, it's always been curiosity, and I'll just share one little insight here. So partway through my corporate career, I was suddenly asked to go to Hong Kong and open an office for the company I was working for at that time. I was based in London prior to that, and I said to them, "Why me?" And amongst other things, they said, "Well, we started talking about this stuff, and you were the only one that asked questions about it." So the curiosity thing. So that's what ended me up in Hong Kong for 6 years. Anyway, just a background story.
No, I love that curiosity. And I do think it's important to be, even if you feel silly for asking a question. A lot of times people are just too scared to ask it, but they're thinking the same question. So along those lines, I'm going to ask a silly question. Thinking about crypto in this crazy world, can you just explain it to us like we're five? How should we be thinking about crypto? If it's, for me, it's hard to conceptualize. What is it?
Yeah, okay. So I try and demystify it, if that's the right term, in a number of ways. So one is you have to think about the technology as one factor, the technology of how it works, particularly the more complex ways of cryptographic transactions, etc. But the technology is just the means to an end. Okay. The other part is, well, what is it achieving in terms of our interaction with, say, finance or information or other services? And my sort of go-to analogy, at least for explaining the technology, blockchain and decentralized ledger technology generally, is to think about our ATM network. Where you get cash out of the hole in the wall. So if you think about it, each ATM, whichever brand of bank it belongs to, is, if you like, a node on a network. Because every time you put your card in, regardless of which bank you're with or which card you're using, the system knows how much is in your account and how much you're entitled to take out. If you take $100 out of your account in ATM A, and then you go to ATM B and try and take it out another $100, they'll say, you already took it out of the other machine. So in some ways, a blockchain, a distributed ledger technology is essentially like that ATM network. I'm oversimplifying, and there's a lot more to it, but just think of it conceptually like that, because what the blockchain is saying is you can't take out more than you have, you can't double spend, as they say, and you can't reverse the transactions. It's immutable, and it's distributed because there's an ATM on every high street, right? So that's my go-to very simple analogy for people who want to understand the practicalities of blockchain. If you want to talk about other things like, decentralization, taking more ownership of our financial affairs, the whole idea of holding the secret key to your wallet, etc. A lot of people still aren't very comfortable with that because, if you lose your bank PIN number, well, hopefully the bank will issue a new one and away you go. If you lose your key to your digital wallet, then it's nigh impossible to recover your assets. And people get scared, I think, about the responsibility. But in some ways, it's good that we're being made responsible for managing our own affairs. I'm straying into the sort of philosophical aspects of blockchain, etc.
No, that's great. The ATM network is helpful, and then you just mentioned an ATM at every corner, and so it highly accessible, but all those systems are connected. So that's super helpful. So talk to me a little bit for people who haven't heard about Brave New Coin. What does Brave New Coin do? Who do you serve? What's the problems that you're solving for that audience?
Sure. So the company was set up in about 2014, primarily as a content and data provider for this new emerging technology and market, basically because the view is that crypto assets are just another form of assets like gold, equity, bonds, etc. So the idea was to provide a platform for news and information, education in part, and also data around the industry. And so Brave New Coin was launched, say 2014. I joined the company 2016. And basically what we're doing is helping our audience of 2 million readers a month access information, news, etc., about the industry, what's going on in the market, what's happening from products, what's happening with some of the big names in the industry, what's happening on the regulatory front. And then also on the other side, we're helping those crypto brands, blockchain companies, service providers access our audience, connect with them through sponsored content, banner advertising, podcast, and other channels. So basically, we're like, two-side marketplace. We have the audience of our end users, our readers, who are mostly crypto enthusiasts, if not crypto curious, and then the advertisers and the brands and the products who want to engage with that audience.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Can you talk to me about your go-to-market strategy for both of those, since it is interesting because you need more readers to get more advertised. It goes both ways. So what is your strategy for both of those?
So at a high level, from a content side, it's about quality, it's about authoritative content, and it's about being trustworthy, transparent, and reliable. So we make sure that we're not publishing garbage. I'll just put it that way. And also that we have to have some editorial standards and policies in place to ensure that we're not publishing anything that may be incorrect or open to ambiguity. So basically, it's that quality content because that's what gets readers engaged and that's what keeps them coming back week after week, day after day. Obviously, there's a lot of techniques in there around SEO, around the structure of the content, and also running content that is familiar, consistent, and has that house voice, if you will, because I think consistency is key. On the other side, it's a whole combination of things. It's just cold calling, it's outreach, it's just simply networking. It'll be through, in the past, attending events, conferences, getting our brand out there. I always remember, so I joined the company in 2016, still relatively early days of crypto, I know, but there've been people in there a lot longer than me. And I went to New York for one of the major conferences. And at the end of the day drink session, I was just standing around talking as you do. And I introduced myself, as from Brave New Coin. And this person I'd never met before in New York said, "Oh, you're Brave New Coin. I love you guys." And I go, "Oh, wow, this is really powerful. This is someone who's heard my brand. I've never met him before. I have no idea who he is, but that connection was very powerful." So in those days, it was possible to have those connections and to network. And basically, that's what we did. It was building that network, building that brand, and just leveraging that. In more recent times, it's been more challenging because A, there's more and more outlets for this type of content, and B, There's a lot more projects, and the industry has become quite diverse in terms of the type of businesses and the type of service providers. So we have to cater for that, and so I guess we tend to look at particular segments of the market that we want to focus on, or we see where there are trends going, and we say, okay, this is what the theme and narrative is. We need to connect with providers and companies who are in this part of the space, because they're going to be getting a lot of attention in the near future. So it's having that ability to just connect and follow the dots and join the dots, I think, between the different sides of our audience.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I would love to hear your perspective on, you've talked about the importance of the quality of your content being a really important driver for your readers. How are you thinking about AI and using AI? Like, what's the balance with how your team is using AI, but then also making sure it's quality, making sure it's unique? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so just to clarify, we're not just setting everything to AI and letting it write the articles. That would be counterproductive, because I think that's basically reductive, and it'll just reduce everything to word salads. And we've seen examples of that. So where we are using AI is perhaps in helping ideation. So we're understanding what is our audience reading, what's attracting them, and using that as prompts to generate ideas, not to write the content, but to generate ideas. Then obviously using AI to more templates, I suppose is the right term, to ensure that the content is consistent with our editorial standards. So, we obviously follow Google EAT principles. So, and understanding that the content meets that. So that's just harks back to old editorial days. You have a house style, you have a markup style sheet, and you have various principles of how you describe something or don't. And it's using those consistent approaches that maintain quality. And then finally, having a good sniff test, I suppose, in terms of content, particularly content supplied by agencies or their clients. Does this pass the sniff test? Does this make sense? And so sometimes we do have to challenge and push back on the content, and we will, refuse content if it doesn't meet our standards, and if clients aren't willing to, meet those standards. So yeah, those are probably the main things, and AI obviously has a background role to play there. And then beyond that, I suppose we're using AI in part to create images, short videos, etc. And then using AI-enabled tools, not AI itself, AI-enabled tools to run sort of synthesis on, our data and keyword and SEO performance, things like that.
What is a sniff test? I feel like I should know what that is, but can you explain what a sniff test is?
If you read something and it smells off, it probably is off. You know what I mean? In Australia, we have this thing called the pub test. It's sort of, if something happens, in the world, particularly in politics or sport or something like that, and does it pass the pub test? Would someone having a drink with you in the bar agree that this was a good or bad thing that happened? So the pub test is one element. Sniff test is probably a bit more organic, and it's basically saying, look, if something looks off, it probably is off.
Got it. That makes sense. So yeah, that I like that concept of using it for ideas, using AI for templates. Obviously, in the content business, we see a lot of people that are using AI for content. Right. And this, talking about a sniff test, now that I understand it, I can sniff it from a mile away. I can just tell that's, AI made that. It's just not as interesting. It's AI talking to AI, especially on LinkedIn these days. I'm like, wow, these are just, seems like bots talking to each other. And so to actually have a unique standpoint on that and unique content is going to be really powerful and a differentiator in this new market where it's easy to make content. It's hard to make original, thoughtful content.
Yeah, and I think to your point around, we've all seen it. As I said, a lot of AI generated content is effectively word salad. It's full of phrases, but they are typically non sequiturs. The links are painful, and Yeah, I take your point about LinkedIn. I've received LinkedIn invitations, and you think, did someone really write this, or they just press the AI button? Because the non sequiturs, it says, "Oh, hey Rory, I really loved your article about this," and then suddenly topic B, and it's like, where's the connection? It comes
Yeah.
across as inauthentic, false, and it just puts me on my guard. Yeah, it doesn't pass the sniff test there.
And I do think it's a big opportunity. There's obviously, I'm a huge fan of AI and automations used smartly, but
Mm.
people that are using it differently, this is where there's a differentiator. How can we use it to be more efficient, but actually not use the strategies everyone else is using? That's what's going to get people's attention because there's so much noise right now. And so doing things different. One thing I do is I send people, when I connect on LinkedIn, I send them an audio message. And it's just a minute long audio message. I just say who I am, that's it. And people are always shocked about it. They can't believe it. And those are the types of things, if you're looking to reach people, think a little different. Think a little bit different about how you're doing it.
Yeah, so someone in my network, he runs a digital agency, and one of the things they've started, playing with is an AI bot to help them book appointments with clients. It's not perfect, but they've given it a persona, and it'll message you and say, "Hey, John's free for coffee next Friday at 2. Do you want to meet?" And it basically is doing that. I mean, it's, as I said, it's not perfect, and you're being botted, if that's the right term, but it works, and you understand the context in which it's
Mm.
being used, because it's not being used as a cold call. There's been a human or warm connection before, and then they're just using the bot as a personal assistant, effectively, as a
No,
scheduler.
that makes a lot of sense. But it's not a person, and why not be upfront about that? Nobody has an issue. If it's more convenient and quicker to schedule with a bot, because it will be, because they can respond instantaneously, better
Mm,
experience for everyone.
yeah.
Okay, great. I would love to shift a little bit to more, you put your CEO hat on. I would love, because there are business leaders that are listening to this. What are things that you really like about being a CEO? And then are there any parts of it that you're like, man, this is not my favorite part of being a CEO and leading a business?
So what do I enjoy? Look, I love working with the team we have. I'm probably the second oldest person by age in the company, so it's great to work with younger people, most of whom are far brighter than me when it comes to the topic of crypto and stuff. So I enjoy that aspect of it. And as CEO, I get to interfere with lots of different things. So I have to be careful, where the boundaries are. I don't micromanage. That's never been my style as a manager. But I like to be across issues and things, understand how people do their job. Not that I want to do it for them, but I need to understand, well, how are they going about it? Because obviously, as we know from our early experiences as managers, if someone that reports to you is doing something and it's the task is achieved, but not the way that you would achieve it, that's always a struggle, because you want to put your imprint on it, but that's not your role. Your role is to enable people to do it the way that they're able to, and as long as the result is what you require, that's fine. So it's having those sort of boundaries. As a manager, also, I'm always of the belief that you shouldn't ask someone to do something that you wouldn't be willing to do yourself. I hate it when managers or leaders basically sacrifice their team to do a crap piece of work because they don't have the guts to do it themselves. I know that's probably a bit controversial, but I'm a strong believer in that. What don't I enjoy about being a leader? Look, sometimes, management can feel like relationship guidance counseling. You sort of having to coach people through things, and that's fine. We're all human, and we need to get through those things. I'm very fortunate the team I work with, the team has pretty much been together for 5 years or more now, so I think we know each other. And so we're able to be a little more direct, regardless of the relationship or reporting lines or any of that, because we're quite a flat organization, being small. So we're fortunate in that regard. But then the counter to that is it's always when you have a close, tight-knit team like that, particularly in a sort of startup, scale-up type environment, when someone new comes to the team, it can be challenging. It's like, okay, does this disrupt the dynamics? Does it make people feel a bit unsettled? And obviously, part of that is identifying why that person's being introduced to the team, what their purpose or function is, and making sure that everyone's comfortable with that and move on. Because you get sort of turf wars, or you get people's back up the wrong way if someone new comes in. So managing that process, and just generally managing expectations, I think, particularly for us, we're a remote, decentralized team. So I don't talk to the team every day of the week. I don't even see them, from year to year sometimes. But having communications channels, and I have a weekly call with the founders, and so that ensures the continuity, the communication up and down to the organization, because that's obviously very important. But as I say, we're a very flat, lean team, so there shouldn't be any barriers to those communication channels. Basically, there just isn't time or room for that.
Right. I love what you said about leaders not making sure that leaders are always willing to do what they hand off to their team. I remember one time I was asked to drive 30 minutes to take a photo of someone. I don't need to go into all the context. And I had this moment of, I am so much better than this. And it was a really important moment for this person. And I was like, no, I'm better than this. I don't need to, why are you asking me to do this? And that person, they told me, they were CEO, and they told me, leaders pick up a mop sometimes. And if this is an important thing for this team, then you pick up the mop. You are not high and mighty that you can't have time for this. Like, when the time is right, you better be willing to get your hands dirty in a startup environment and do what needs to be done. So yes, we need more leaders like that, who are not just trying to hand off dirty work to their team.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I would love to shift towards 2026 and understand what are you focused on? What is Brave New Coin focused on in the new year? What should we be looking out for?
Okay, so we're probably looking just to continue our current audience growth. We've seen thanks to some of the changes we've made to our production process and to our website and everything, we're seeing significant growth in our traffic, which is driving more inquiries and interest from clients who want to place content with us. So managing that and streamlining some of those processes, that's one thing. I think the second thing is probably we're very good at doing product ideation. We're a team of creatives, I suppose, in some ways. And so we often find ourselves building products long before anyone actually needs them or uses them. And so that can be a bit of a challenge in itself. But we're seeing the opportunity to develop some new products on our site. I can't go into detail, just because we're seeing the trajectory of these technology developments and social and market and other trends coming together to enable us to do that. So we'll be back into product development mode a little bit, which is always exciting. And then beyond that, it's just, engaging with those parts of the industry that we know can benefit from our support, help, assistance in marketing and promoting their brand. I think one of the biggest challenges we encounter when it comes to, just improved technology, data automation, AI, is people lose a sense of the value proposition. A lot of things have become highly commoditized, and so therefore people don't really attach value to it. So we have to constantly re-educate our clients that no, the reason you're coming to us is not because we're going to give you the best CPM, or we'll give you hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads for your products. Basically, you're coming to us because we present a value proposition in the form of the community that we've built, the platform and the content that we provide, our processes, the quality, and the longevity we have in this industry. And that's not the same as just going to a startup agency, and no disrespect to startup agencies, but basically someone who's got no track record is basically undercutting everyone else in the industry just to get a deal, because that's not sustainable. And just competing on price is a race to the bottom, right? I was, again, going back to my experience in publishing and stuff like that. I remember when we started, and I'm showing my age here, when we started moving from print to online and digital. And I worked in an industry where we used to charge upwards of $100 for a book, single book, because these were specialist texts. So as we move people to online content, people were saying, well, yeah, but just adding another internet user should just cost you 50 cents, right? And we're going, yeah, that's not quite how it works. There's still the cost of producing quality content, editing it, maintaining it, et cetera, et cetera. So whether it's in print or online, is still a inherent cost in that. And the value to you of having that information is the same, if not greater, because now it's in a new medium, it's more accessible, it has better interactivity with other applications that you may be using, when you start overlaying search and all those other things. So, that education process continues into our current space because digital media, people think, well, the cost of adding another, X number of impressions is Y. Well, it is, but it's everything that goes into that is also valuable. So, that's part of the challenge, I think, as we go into our next phase of growth.
Yeah, and getting people to think past, immediate value and towards longer term value. Like you talked about SEO, but GEO, generative engine optimization, LLMs are a huge opportunity for people. If you have good content out there, is a huge opportunity for you to start being a thought leader in different industries. And I'm seeing clients get real results from having good content coming through LLMs.
Yeah,
So.
we can attest to that because we obviously originate our own content. We also help distribute and disseminate content on behalf of our clients. But I think what's not really being measured or valued is the earned media we can generate on behalf of our clients, because we're seen as an authoritative source for information, and our content is cited and referenced in multiple other third-party publications, many of which are competitors, but nevertheless, we are often cited in their publications. So that's probably an intangible value proposition, or part of the value proposition we offer, and I think that's something that will play an increasingly important part when you think about search and AI-enabled search, is because even those tools will be looking for authoritative sources that they can cite and verify. And I think that's where the game is now, right?
Verified. Yeah, no, that's great. Okay, if people want to connect with you, follow along with Brave New Coin, what are the best ways for them to do that?
Okay, so go to the website, bravenewcoin.com. There's lots of inquiry forms depending on what areas of the business you're interested in. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Rory Manchee. It's a fairly unusual name, so I'm very responsive on LinkedIn. So I am, as long as you put some context into the invitation, I generally respond. And then obviously we've got our socials, which you can also find from our website. There's our podcast, The Crypto Conversation, presented by Andy Pickering. I think he's done nearly 700 episodes of that show, which is pretty amazing. Has some great guests on there. Check that out if you just want to hear deeper dives into new projects in the crypto and blockchain space. And then finally, yeah, if there's anything that people heard in this which they find interesting, want to know more about, they can contact us through contact@bravenewcoin.com.
Perfect. I will make sure to put all of those links, including the podcast, in the description, because I definitely want people to have an easy way to do that. But Rory, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing some of your expertise within this space. It's been a great conversation. I think it'll be helpful for people.
My pleasure. And thanks for the thoughtful and provocative questions.
Yes, thanks so much. Bye.